Welcome back, everyone. It is good to see you all. Every year I do a video about the forward stroke. I've been struggling this month, like I need to get it out, but I don't know exactly what I want it to be on. I feel like there isn't anything that I haven't said that needs to be said, except you probably need to work on your forward stroke, which I say all the time. And then I got an email last night at like 9 o'clock last night. Let's go. This is why I don't paddle on Saturdays. There are just way too many people here. I'm surrounded by people with poor understanding of risk management and no PFDs and don't know how to paddle a boat. Which brings us to the forward stroke, which is what I want to talk about today. Okay, so the email that I got at 9 o'clock last night is from a viewer, someone that I've been consulting with for a number of things. And his question was this: I and many other people teach that when doing the forward stroke, when applying power from your feet, you are applying power from the left foot when the right paddle blade is in the water. What I call the water hand is the right hand. And then you apply it from the right foot when the left paddle blade is in the water. And he said that it looked like a lot of people taught it that way, but there were some people who teach it the other way, with the same foot and the same hand at the same time. And that got me thinking. And so I got out of bed, I went to my office, I sat on the floor, pretended I had a paddle, I did the stroke pushing both ways. And then I did something else. I stood up and took a fighting stance and threw a couple of punches. About the same time that I got sort of serious about the mechanics of paddling, I was also doing martial arts. I find a lot of similarities between those two things, between paddling a kayak and throwing a punch or throwing a kick. And so I had a number of thoughts for him based on the two things that I did. So here's what I started to say to him. And I stopped and rewrote this email a couple times because I wasn't always agreeing with myself. And I'm sure that there will be people in the comments who disagree with some of the things that I'm going to say. But let's say them anyway, because why not? The first thing is that I teach it that way with opposites because that's how I was taught at Knowles originally and with other instructors. I teach it that way because when throwing a punch, you have a back foot and a front foot, and you get way more power throwing a punch with that opposite, that back foot. And you have to think of your body as a spring, and on each stroke, you're coiling the spring and allowing the spring to unwind. And by having them be opposite, the spring is longer, so you get more power, right? And I also said that the proof of this is to watch Olympic paddlers, and Olympic paddlers for me come up a lot, not because it's like the paradigm of what you should do. When I'm paddling a boat, even when I'm working hard to cover distance and go fast, I never really paddle fast. I'm not a fast paddler. It doesn't look like an Olympic paddler, but that illustrates torso rotation and leg drive really well because it's so obvious in an Olympic paddler. Their knees are visible so you can see them pumping, you can see that torso rotation. That's why I like to use that example. Frequently on Instagram, I will post when a video of an Olympic paddler training comes across my feed, I'll share it in my stories. And it'll be like, it's been a while since I've reminded everyone that paddling is not an arm-powered sport. It is a core and leg-powered sport. And so that's why I teach it those ways. Now, I teach it those ways because that's how I was taught and because it's how paddlers that I respect teach it, and it makes sense to me physically. However, I then started checking the resources that I use, and the resources that I use at 9 o'clock on a Friday night, or really by this point 10 o'clock on a Friday night, are books. And so I went to Gordon Brown's book. Gordon Brown is a level 5 instructor. I've been trained by people who were trained by him. Unfortunately, I've never paddled with him, but his book, Sea Kayak, is amazing. And it doesn't specify which foot leg drive is coming from. It talks very little about the forward stroke. I think the forward stroke should be talked about more. I am not afraid to disagree with people I respect, and I respect Gordon Brown, but I think he should talk more about it. Then I went to a book, an older book called Sea Kayaking Illustrated, which it's a great reference. It's got a very small section on the forward stroke, but it's got tons of other really useful things. It's a great go-to, and I use it for a lot of things. A cool way to coil up your cam straps, or emergency signals, things like that. It's got a great resource for stuff. How to pack a boat. It's a great book. They say same side. It's like, okay, they say same side. So I went to my third resource in the middle of the night is the Knowles Sea Kayak Educator's Notebook, which is what Knowles instructors use as a reference when they're in the field teaching. It doesn't specify, but I was taught by Knowles instructors who did say opposite foot. So here's what I ended up saying to that student via email. I said, this is how I teach it, and here are the reasons why I teach it. And look at Olympic paddlers. They're spending a lot of time and money and technology to get as much power out of their stroke as possible. So look at how they're doing it, but that doesn't mean you should do it that way. But here's the thing. If it doesn't feel natural to you to do it that way, you're not going to get as much power out of it just because it doesn't feel natural. I can throw a punch with either hand and with either foot back, probably because I'm left-handed and live in a right-handed world and have to go back and forth. I can also paddle pushing on the same side, but it doesn't feel as comfortable, as fluid, as natural as pushing opposite. So I'm not going to get as much power from it. I'm not going to be able to do it as easily for a long period of time. So if pushing on the opposite side doesn't feel natural to you, then try it pushing on the same side and see how that feels. Remember, rethink everything. If it doesn't work for you this way, do it another way. We're still getting to the same point. We're still driving off our legs. We're still using torso rotation to get power. That's what we have to be doing. And if I have to use the other foot to do it, then I have to use the other foot to do it. What if I only had one leg? I could still do it and get drive off of one leg on the foot peg, right? So adapt, improvise, overcome is another phrase that I use a lot. If you can't do opposites, do the same one. Do what works best for you and your body type and what your body is capable of. But here's the other thing that I said. I teach the forward stroke in 3 phases because I find it easier for students to pick it up. And phase 1 is the push, right? Just push the paddle, don't pull the paddle. A lot of people want to pull the paddle to get the boat to go forward, and that's super ineffective. It's using little muscles when you could be using big muscles, right? So just push. Let's get comfortable with that with nice loose hands. Once you get comfortable with that, then let's add torso rotation, all right? You could probably just hear me sort of locking myself into the boat to get good torso rotation. So let's get good torso rotation. Watch right here. You can maybe use this snap is going to go from side to side on each stroke, right? Good torso rotation. 10 to 2. That's phase 2. Now I've got to add a little edge because of the wind. Phase 3, I'm going to add the legs, right? And that's what we were talking about is leg drive. Now I'm really moving. Getting a little weathercocking because I've got a wind pushing the stern of my boat, but that's neither here nor there. I'll fix it with an edge, which I can do while still driving with my legs, right? But here's the thing. I'm not in leg drive mode all day for the whole paddle. For most of the paddle, I may just be pushing or pushing and rotating to get a little speed. You ramp it up. I am probably only engaging my legs 25% of the time. But when I do, it needs to be working and it needs to be efficient. There is nothing that you do in your life at 100% power 100% of the time. Nothing. So why would I do that in a boat? I wouldn't. So I use leg drive after I've added core rotation, after I've started pushing to get the boat to do what I need to do and when I need to do it. I also don't always do like a full sweep stroke if that's not what I need. You know, I once got critiqued in the comments because I did a very quick low brace. And they're like, your low brace sucks. I was like, I did it for a half a second because that was all I needed. Right? That's not what I said. I said, thanks for watching, you know. So that's where I'm coming from. We're not doing leg drive all day long unless I'm like paddling the inside passage and I need to really cover miles. Then I'm doing leg drive all day long, and boy, am I going to sleep that night. But I'm ramping it up in order to get the power I need for the situation that I am in. Similarly, I am a low angle paddler, right? But when I need to really go fast, I get way more vertical, which helps with rotation and leg drive. But I'm not going to do that all day long. As soon as I get where I need to go, for me, that's sprinting to a student, getting to the head of a group, things like that. I come right back to low angle, which I can do all day long with little to no effort. Not super fast, but all day long. And those miles add up. Okay, that's this year's thoughts on the forward stroke, spurred on by a really great email from Michael. That made my night and my day, and gave me something to talk about that I felt was important. So thank you, Michael. If you like this content, do me a favor, hit like and subscribe. My books are available on Amazon in hard copy and coffee in electronic form. Also on coffee are gear lists and float plans and risk management charts and all the stuff. So do those things for me, or just buy me a coffee. Otherwise, I'll see you on the water.